Good evening and welcome back to the FFS podcast. I'm your host, Praddy, once again, and this is episode number 7 of season 1 of the Dressing Room series. Now, for those of you who are joining us here for the first time, the Dressing Room series is something that, I began this year properly. And in this particular series, we talk to our guests about everything but football. And these guests are basically past regulars, one-off guests who we've had on the football podcast. But the reason I'm doing this particular series is so that I get to know a little bit more about them from a more personal point of view. It's so that I suppose it for me to learn a bit more about their lives, what their likes are, dislikes. Apart from football, we already know which clubs they support, which players they follow, but it's just to get a better understanding of the guests that I normally have on my football podcast. And the reason I'm also posting it publicly is so that I suppose it's for the audience to also relate a lot more with the guests that I have on here, and they probably also can find out whether they have more in common with these guests than just the clubs that they support. So, for example, you may have the same likes, the same interests, watch the same movies, have visited the same countries, all of that. So it's just a way for me and for the audience here to get to know a lot more about the guests than just about football. So that's what we're going to be doing in this particular episode. And joining me for episode number 7 is a very, very close friend of mine, and he's been on the podcast many times before talking about Liverpool, but we're not going to be doing that about today. Like I said, his name's Nadeem, and Nadeem, welcome back to the podcast. Glad I could have you back on here. Before we get to learn a lot more about your life, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself without spoiling too much?
Uh, okay. Thanks for having me back. What do I say without really spoiling, anything? I'm a normal working class person, you know,
Yeah.
working maybe not a 9 to 5, but 6 days a week, and I have a lot of free time, which I try to occupy as much as I can. Doing the things that I will eventually, discuss.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So, Nadeem, the way I start each of these episodes is by asking my guests how we met. Right now, in the past few episodes, we've had guests who you will surely know because they attended the same school as us. So we know each other we knew each other from school, but there have been guests who we've only met via the podcast, who like we've only got in touch through the podcast, and we had no clue of each other before that. uh you, of course, I already spoiled it that we've gone to the same school, and I just want to get to know, like, when was the first time we actually met? Because I know your brother was in my class till 7th, 8th, 9th. I'm not sure
No,
when
I
did
think it
Nidal
was
leave.
10th.
10th.
He
Okay.
left after 10th. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, but what are your early recollections of when we met? Because mine are pretty poor right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, like you said, the odds are we would have met years ago, like easily, because we joined the school in 2003,
Yeah.
you know, and I guess he was your classmate from that time. So, post 2003 till about 2007 when we were there, it could have been any time that we must have interacted at some point. We were in the same house as well, summer.
Yeah.
So
No, I
there
was in
was,
summer. Wait, I wasn't
oh,
in
you were in
summer.
summer.
No.
Oh, okay. My bad.
Yeah.
Then, yeah, no, but yeah, there must have been some interaction at some point,
By
just
any chance,
randomly.
were we in the same bus?
But not likely.
Not
I
likely.
don't think so.
Yeah,
No.
I doubt it would have been. Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure
Maybe
because
it would have been like one of those occasions where it was like, there were a bus short and one bus took two different routes. Maybe one
Yeah.
of those instances where we were on the same bus, but I don't think so. We were, ever on the same bus regularly.
Hmm.
But yeah, we interacted off and here and there maybe for sure. And then I think the first time we like properly hung out would have been around in 2015 or 2016 when I was in college in Bangalore
Yeah. Yeah.
and
That
you
I'm
visited for a while.
sure of. Yeah, that I'm sure of because that's when the whole sports group on WhatsApp and on Facebook
Yeah, exactly.
really went off, and then I guess that's when we actually got like like you said mentioned. I think in school, of course, I was classmates with your brother, and yeah, I like I said, I don't know if we hung out too much. I mean, Nidal and I were
No,
like
that's unlikely.
yeah, it was unlikely, but um yeah, I think it was definitely 2015 where we or through the sports group where we actually really,
Yeah, that
connected,
was yeah.
both being Liverpool fans as well. So, um, yeah, and I remember, yeah, you're actually, yeah, I guess I can't say you're one of the few podcast guests that I've actually met, but that's because, I mean, that's because anyone who's kind of known me before the podcast I
Yeah,
met. So yeah,
exactly.
you really
Yeah,
can't say that. But yeah, I think 2015 onwards, we met quite regularly. Every time I've been in Bangalore, we've met.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, a couple of times. Yeah.
yeah, this time I don't think I met you. If you, yeah, you've
No,
been. Uh,
we did. We met a couple of months ago.
wait, where did we meet? Oh yes, at the steak place. Yes.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah. Because I was like, I met your brother. I know I met Nadal at Chinitas, and then I was like, I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure
it
I've.
was a couple of days in a so yeah, the same span
Yeah,
of days. Yeah.
yeah, cool, cool. Okay, yeah. So we have met a few times. All right. Okay, Nadal. Sorry, Nadeem. What the hell was that?
That
uh,
happens a lot. That happens a lot.
yeah, no, we were talking about both. If I was to talk about Nadal, I would have definitely said Nadeem anyway. But
Yeah,
Nadeem,
that's fine. That's
I
fine.
mean, apart from football, what are your interests like? Like, what do you follow? Do you, I mean, in terms of sports or any other thing? Like, what are your hobbies?
Okay, yeah. So I keep passing interest on most sports. Just like to stay informed on what's happening. Sure, like I uh, take a lot more interest in like cricket to some extent, but more sports, cricket, tennis, and the I mean F1. I don't know much, but I sort of know the main players, key players, what's happening on a given occasion. Yeah, that's when it comes to sports. Yeah, that's about it. Basketball, not so much, but again, randomly, I'll just like maybe find out something that's happening, and I won't be like completely out of the loop. And then the other major interest I would say is pop culture, which is like a huge blanket of things, that involves so many other things that
Yeah.
you can be interested in. Uh, Gaming as well. Again, it's like I'm one of those people. I would like to have like every possible system just for maybe one or two games. One of those kind of people.
Okay, that's a very heavy investment there. It's like,
Oh yeah, yeah. I know.
yeah, I mean, I guess in terms of the pop culture, we definitely have a lot of interest because, again, I mean, apart from the sports group, we've also got the movie and TV show group that we're both on,
Yeah,
and we
exactly.
regularly interact on that and talking about spoilers and all of that stuff. Uh, but coming, like, I know you were before you working in your current job, and we'll come to that because I want to have that a separate segment. Like when you were working back in Bangalore, when you were in college, like what was your relaxing routine like? Like what would you do to chill?
Oh, so that's actually when the whole pop culture thing sort of developed. Because honestly speaking, I wasn't interested in college.
Right.
So I got back home by about say 5, 6 p.m. and it was literally not doing anything other than I would watch something. And that was literally my 3 years of college. I'd spend a lot of time, I'd hang out with friends, of course. but most of my time was spent, sitting and watching something. I was one of those people who, like, if someone suggested, hey, check this out, have a look at it, I would at some point eventually get to, checking it out and looking at it, which not a lot of people do, but yeah, I try to do
Yeah.
my best with that. And that's where it sort of developed, because I spent a lot of my time doing that, and, sort of building up a catalog of things that I've watched, and, just
Um,
sort of,
yeah, I think that's something that we share. I think even from my end, like when I had time, I mean, Netflix and the whole, introduction to OTT has just changed our world so much. Before that, it was like you had to download, and to do that, you had to wait for a couple of hours at least.
I used to like put things on download before going to college, and then when I come back, it's done. So that's what I used to do.
Yeah, exactly. So, now when people ask me to download TV shows or movie episodes, I'm like, I don't. I'll either watch it legit
Oh,
on OTT, or if I
no.
don't have the subscription or something, then there's always these the free moving
Streaming
streaming
sites,
sites.
other,
Yeah,
yeah, streaming sites,
my
exactly,
my
yeah.
hard disk thank me nowadays that I don't burden them with terabytes of
Yes,
data,
yes, I
terabytes of
get it. I totally
pirated
get
movies.
that.
Exactly. Uh, all right, so let's talk about the new role that you had. Or okay, before that, let's talk about. I mean, you worked with. I mean, I know your mom has a bakery slash restaurant, and that your brother also is quite
Yes.
involved with for a long time. I just want to get your thoughts as to were you ever keen on how did that restaurant, because I know your mom had the bakery, how did the restaurant bit come about, and were you enthusiastic, were you interested in probably being staying in that business for a long time, or I know you've now changed roles, but how did you see that entire era of your life?
All right. So I moved back home from college in 2017, and that was around the time that my brother was also working in Bangalore at the time, and he was looking for scenery. And the whole thing was, my parents had reached a sort of ceiling with their bakery, and they were looking to, take the next step. My brother was also keen on it, so along with another friend of his from hotel management, they went back and they went back home and they actually set up the restaurant. And a couple of months after that, once I was done, I moved back. And at that point, I didn't really have anything else to do. So, sort of folded onto the family business. And I guess sum it up, I mean, my entire experience with the whole restaurant thing was, yes, it had its upsides. Like, I enjoyed certain parts of it. The social aspect of it was definitely very interesting. But I would say it's taxing work. It takes a huge toll on you, especially if you're working with family in close quarters. It's a little testy at times. But yeah, but it wasn't like it was never a long term plan for me.
All right, I mean, fair enough. I suppose yeah, it's always said that it's never easy working with family, but I mean, fair enough that it wasn't I mean, you knew from the start that what you wanted to do, and it wasn't going to be a long term plan. It's nice to see though the restaurant still is going on, even though your brother and you are now doing different things. It's nice to see that follow you guys on Instagram. So it's nice to see that it continues to flourish, especially the baking part, which has always been great. But even the restaurant, as I saw a couple of posts, and I mean, the food always looks enticing enough.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that we haven't mentioned is your, I don't know if it was a newfound or recent hobby or interest to start drawing and painting on T-shirts. And it was something that really was quite different, unique. I've never had someone who does that. I mean, I know, I mean, there are sites that like you can buy all of that graphic T-shirts and all, but to see someone actually, hand draw and paint stuff, paint these comic book designs and all that on t-shirts. Really, really cool. So how did that come about, and how's it going now? I know you're quite busy, but do you keep time for that, or what's the situation like?
Let's start with the second part. Yes, I haven't drawn in a long while. I was, funnily enough, just a couple of days back, I was thinking about, I need to sort of, keep some time aside, get back into it, just sort of keep my hand, get that muscle memory back, because uh, work can get monotonous at times. So I need something to sort of, work my mind basically. And how it started again. So back in college, I said that, after I got back, all I did was, sit and watch stuff. Well, while I was in college, rather than pay attention in class, I would sit and draw. That was
Okay.
literally it from second year
So
onwards.
you were the doodler.
Yes, exactly. But
Okay.
yeah, doodler, yeah. Basically, what I would do is, I'd sit like smack dab in the middle of the classroom, like, geographically I was in the middle of the classroom, so I wasn't like, in the eye line. I mean, I'd be,
Yeah,
covered basically.
one amongst the many.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and I would be like, okay, let me, think of drawing. And I wouldn't draw like abstract stuff. It was
Yeah.
literally stuff rooted in our childhood. I would think, hey, this cartoon character, this comic character, like, let me give a shot drawing him or her or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And I would get a picture of them on my phone, leave it on the table, and then sit and draw. So a lot of times I actually looked like I was doing work, which is why again I didn't really get caught. And that sort of slowly developed into like the skill that I eventually established. And yeah, I moved on to like t-shirts and walls, and a lot of art I've done. Again, it's been a while since I've done it, but yeah, it's something that I have sort of picked up through sheer, force of will, and I do enjoy it. Like everything that I do is freehand, and when I do have the hang of it, some of these drawings take me like no time whatsoever, which is something that I'm really glad about.
Yeah. No, and like you mentioned, I think stuff like this is generally like it. I mentioned this on the previous podcast as well. Like art in any form is the best sort of way to take your mind off your normal rut. So even though your work, which we'll get to in a bit, is amazing and it sounds really really cool, uh, like I know it can get a bit monotonous, especially if you're going to write stuff,
Hmm.
repeatedly. So to have another hobby, another interest, which is on similar lines, but can take your mind away from that, from work for a few hours or so. But that's great to have. I, uh, I mean, you really don't want your mind to be idle on the second, but to use that, the fact that your interest and your love for pop culture, and to put it into use. And it's really cool because like when you look at these designs that we have on like retail stores, online stores, yeah, they're cool, but at times that you probably have a better idea on certain things. So for example, I remember we discussed this. I mean, we discussed certain ideas, right? And we were thinking of like Christmas. I think again it was, I think around this time we were talking about Christmas movies and all that, and I thought like we've never seen stuff like Home Alone T-shirts or something like that, and it would
We
be
saw a Home Alone and this thing. What do you say? John McClane fusion.
yeah, exactly, yeah. And of course then there was, I think Hannibal also was one that we spoke about, or Silence of the Lambs rather. So yeah, it's stuff like that where I suppose, being fans, we can create, and for you as well, you create your own designs. You don't have to rely on what's there, and especially if you're good at it, which you are. So I mean, if
I
you're
mean,
terrible at it, don't. It'll be
yeah.
cool. It'll be funky, but yeah. Um. All right. So let's talk about your job, current job, right? Which is, for some, I suppose, for a lot of people, they'd probably be envious of the role that you have right now, because it's, I suppose, everyone's dream to work or to do what they love as work in a way. Like, so I won't spoil it as to what you do. I think it's best that you talk about your role and the company that you work for and what your job entails. And also, yeah, okay, we'll start with that, and then we'll talk about, moving from Bangalore to Mumbai. What's the difference like in terms of work and all of that? But let's talk about your role as well, right? So you review movies, TV shows.
Yes.
You're like a certified critic now. Anyone who types in the review for any of the latest movies on Netflix, especially, and you'd find your article right up there on the Google search. So talk us through your role. How did it come about? How excited are you for it, and what does it entail?
Yeah. Okay. So my official title, you could say, at the moment is editor for an online entertainment website called the Envoy Web. And the simple description of my job is, yes, I watch TV shows and movies for a living, you know.
Yeah.
And I guess about a little over a year ago, we had, I was still back at home in Mangalore, and it was decided that, my brother and I would head out and do our own thing, because staying at home was getting a bit stagnant. We weren't really, happy and things like that. And of course, my brother had past experience with like working outside and stuff, so it didn't take long for him to get something, and I was sort of, stumbling along, not sure what to do. And I was aware that LinkedIn was somewhere you could, sort of trawl for jobs basically. And a couple of, parameters were set, and thanks to my little hint of luck, I saw a listing for, and one of the requirements for the listing was you have to be a fan of pop culture, and you need to have subscriptions to these streaming platforms. So I was like, hey, let's go for that. They also required like some sort of journalism experience, but I was like, hey, it's not, but they didn't specify that it was necessary.
Yeah.
And I just I guess shot my shot and sent in my application. And luckily enough, it was a startup, so
Yeah.
they were accepting of like all sorts of applications. And it started off as an internship. It was the company is these two guys who are the same age as me. They're 27 years old. And basically at the time when I joined on as an intern, it was these two guys who are the co-founders and a cycling batch of interns. And it was a paid internship, which was not something that was offered a lot. And so it was supposed to be a 3-month internship. I went through 3 months, and at the end I was like, hey, I enjoy this, I've got nothing else going on. I don't mind continuing, because at that point they were still in that startup sort of phase. They were about 2 years old, but they were still in that startup sort of phase. And but they were also happy with my work, so I continued on for about 2.5 months more. And then this year, 2022, in about February, they called me and they were like, listen, I think we've reached the next stage of our company's growth, and we want to take you on. So I was their first full-time employee, and
Nice.
I got the job. And they also said that at some point I would eventually have to move to Bombay. So till about August, I worked from home, and in September I moved to Bombay. And I mean, let me talk about like what work I do. I haven't really
Yeah.
got.
Yeah.
So yes, one thing is that the website focuses on streaming platforms.
Mm-hmm.
So we only cover stuff that is online. And yes, even though we are based in India, we have more of a Western reader base, which is why we focus more on like Western platforms.
Fair
So
enough.
stuff like Paramount Plus, Hulu, this stuff come in India, but when it comes to like in the article we're mentioning that they're releasing on Paramount Plus or Hulu, we cover stuff on HBO Max, even though we don't have HBO Max in India. That's one of those times when
Is it
we
Oh no, I don't think HBO Max isn't
so specifically
Hotstar.
HBO Max is not there. It's the HBO stuff
Yeah.
comes on Hotstar. Some stuff comes on like other stuff. There's a lot of India's, certain, there's
Yeah,
sort of
it's
monopoly.
a potpourri of stuff. Yeah, mix and
Yeah.
match.
Yes. So, yeah, and basically what we do is on the day of the release, we watch these movies or these, season of a series. We do an explainer, we do a review. Sometimes we'll pick out specific plot points or specific characters, do a separate explainer of those. There are shows that release weekly. We do recaps for those. You know, then there's your usual listicle, top 10 this, top 10 that,
Yeah.
stuff like that. That's sort of like a blanket of what we cover.
Okay. So now this is a question that I've asked guests in the past who also sort of cited movies or TV shows as their interests and hobbies, right? But since you're doing this on work, I don't know how much this is going to, whether you're going to be able to say this or not. But if I were to ask you for your personal top 5 movies of all time.
Top 5 movies of all time?
Yeah.
Movies. That is a tough one. I can differentiate between good movies and my favorite movies.
Yeah.
Definitely. So I guess my favorite ones, I would say, in no particular order though.
Fair enough.
Just top 5. One, Back to the Future.
Okay.
I would sort of Back to the Future 1. Yeah, Back to the Future 1.
Yeah.
7.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Nice.
7. Yeah, this is definitely a tough one.
Yeah.
There are way too many movies
There are.
on for. Oh, Remember the Titans.
Okay.
Remember the Titans.
That's
Yes.
an off-field one. Yeah, I don't think I would have heard many people give
I
that.
mean, all the typical sports, motivational stuff,
Yeah.
the underdog, all that stuff. I mean, I know all the same sports movies follow the same sort of structure, but this one specifically, I sort of definitely it's one of my favorites.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's 3. 4 and 5. Oh, okay, that's definitely tough. You know, I really cannot think of off the top of my head. No, can't really pick out stuff.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. I'll leave you. I'll relieve you of that burden.
Definitely. Something comes up, I will definitely bring it up again.
Fair enough. No, but I think top 3 very, or I wouldn't say top 3, but the 3 that you mentioned are very different genres, very different movies. I like the variety of it. You just didn't go for one particular genre saying I only like comedy movies. I only like horror movies. So that's nice. So what's on your plate right now? Like what are the TV shows and movies that you're watching right now currently?
Oh,
Now,
okay.
Even it could even be like TV shows that have finished, their season is over, but they're continuing right now. Say
Sure, of course.
Yeah.
There are quite a few. I'm sort of catching up on just because I've recently just watched an episode. I'm catching up on Doom Patrol.
Okay.
I've been keeping up with Titans, the DC Titans. There's this cop show with Nathan Fillion called The Rookie.
Yeah. Okay.
I watched that. There is the Good Doctor.
Okay. Yeah.
That's another one that's pretty interesting. I mean, yeah, you can technically count this, but the latest season of Pokemon, the English dubbed one, I'll stick to the English dubbed one, but I'm watching it literally in the order, as the episodes come out, I'm waiting it for it.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, that's keeping up to date with that, because
yes, exactly.
I mean the number of episodes those anime shows have is just
good thing. I mean, the cool part about Pokemon is you can watch a new season without knowing. I mean, as long as you know who Ash is in general, you don't have to sort of that. So I did. I side by side, I'm watching the current season, and side by side, I usually go back and go through an older season. So I've
Okay.
done that with a couple of seasons as well. Like the annoying thing with the English dub is it's about 15 to 20 episodes behind the Japanese one, like the original one. So like obviously, like there was a huge spoiler that Ash won the championship, and I was like, oh, damn, I just reached the episode where the whole tournament like started. So like, come on, why? But it was pretty cool. But yeah, that's one of those. And let's see, there are a couple of ones that have sort of like sort of dropped off. Like I need to get back into which there's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. That's something that I once in a while I'll catch an episode. It's in 2022 when you watch something that came out in 2006 or 2007, especially that show. It gets tough to get through it. You know what I'm saying.
I do understand. Yeah, some shows do not age that well in current environment.
Yes.
Yeah, like your list, I think it's got a good like different types of different genres. So wide array of genres rather. So you're not sticking to one particular kind of show. I know there's the DC stuff in there. So then there's the comedy, which is Rookie. You've got anime. I know then you watch the Andor and House of Dragons kind of stuff as well, sci-fi and drama. So yeah, I mean you've got a pretty extensive list of
yes, definitely. Just okay. So I mean I don't know. So I'm one of those people. I keep an app to track my stuff.
Oh
and,
shit! Okay, what's the app that you're using though?
It's called TV Time.
Okay.
Okay.
So, I mean, there are other apps available, but for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah. I don't know. The interface is attractive, and it's yes. The first time you download it, you will have to physically input everything that you know. But then after a point, it's okay. And just a quick thing would be, so like I said, it tracks everything. And according to this, my collective screen time of TV shows is 8 months, 11 days, and 4 hours.
That's I don't. Oh wait, 8 months.
11 days and 14 hours. Just put that into perspective, right? Like in my entire life, and I'm someone who's watched a lot. So
yeah, that doesn't seem too much.
Exactly. That is collectively 1,940 episodes overall.
Still not, okay, I actually need to do that now to find out how much mine is. I'm
okay. Of course, this doesn't include, like, I've been sort of like picky about it. Like there are certain, obviously I haven't counted certain things where I casually watched it here and there.
Yeah, no, but religiously followed stuff.
Yeah, even then, yes, that is for just TV shows.
Yeah, no, but
like,
even
it's not even a year, but that is a lot.
Yeah,
that is a lot. When you say that I actually started watching stuff maybe after, like, say 10th grade, so that would be in the past 12 years. Still not much, but yes, that is it.
10th grade is 12 years
for me.
Yeah. 14. Yeah, fair enough. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what. Okay, actually, that made me feel younger than I thought I would. Actually.
Oh wow! Okay, yeah, no. Nowadays, everything makes us feel old. So.
Yeah, exactly. But that just felt like that took me. I thought it was more, but I'm glad that it isn't. Okay, so all of that considered, now I know you've moved to Bombay from, like, how's it been moving from Bangalore or Mangalore? I mean, Mangalore to Bombay, of all things. Bangalore is still, I mean, little bit. I wouldn't think that there's a huge difference, but Mangalore, which I've been to only once, and it's such a quaint, quiet little town or city rather. Okay, not quiet, but it's a smaller city.
Yes,
and
definitely.
less busy than hubbub like Mumbai. So how's it been? how's the the travel been, the work been? How hectic has it been to get from one place to another? What's the difference been like?
All right. Okay. Okay. Being completely honest, the first 2 months weren't exactly great. It took me a while to settle down.
Fair enough.
Couple of factors. The fact that I, it was not just moving from Bangalore to Mumbai. It was the fact that I've been in Bangalore for the last 5 years, which also included a pandemic where I was inside my house for maybe 2 years, most of it.
Yeah.
So definitely settling in was a task. I don't know too many people here in Bombay. I know maybe a handful of people, and they're again, acquaintances more than friends. People I haven't spoken to a lot.
So how's your social life been though? Like I know that you haven't met. Like how's it been with work? I know your work colleagues and all that. Like how have you been able to socialize a lot more with people, or are you kind of you've got your already set of friends who, even if they're not in the same city, you still kind of they are your group, and the rest are just acquaintances of people that you probably meet once in a while, but you're not really socializing that much. So what's it like?
Okay. Yeah. So the thing is, my workspace. I work out of a co-working space,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool. That's kind of a fun thing. And it's walking distance from my house. So I, take a walk up there and socializing. I would say socializing does happen. Other than also, there's also the fact that when you say colleagues, I mean it's only me and my boss over here. The rest of the writers from our team are still work from home. We don't really plan on having too many, you know, more people coming, working
Fair enough.
from here.
Yeah.
The whole point of me coming here and him being here was that, I mean, yeah, there are certain things where you need to have a face-to-face conversation, bounce ideas off each other, which doesn't happen over, text and stuff like that. And the other part is this is the hub for entertainment. So there's a lot of
Yeah.
events and stuff that happen that we get to
Yeah.
go for and
I've
stuff.
seen it. Yeah, I've
Yeah,
seen your Instagram.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's that. And yeah, the workspace, it's a WeWork, which is, I mean,
Yeah, I know.
the
Yeah.
uh, and it's pretty cool. We get done with our work usually by about 5 or 6. I mean, I go into work at 12. You know, I usually go into work at
Yeah.
12. Uh, Lately, I mean, just from the last week, it has been 10 because I go to the gym there.
Okay.
So it's like it's very casual. Like I'm
Yeah.
I'm I'm telling you seriously. Like I go in there, I go to the gym, I have a shower over there.
Yeah.
And then I go downstairs to work. We basically got one of those hot desk memberships, which is basically you stay in the common area, sit on your laptop and work. And yeah, we get done with our work by about 5 or 6, and then we go to the rec room where there's a table tennis table. And there's like so many people. Everybody brings their rackets, and you have these cyclic games of 2-on-2 where it's like every pair is like different, and we play that for about a couple of hours, 1 or 2 hours,
Yeah.
and then I head home by about 8 or 9.
Fair
Oh,
enough.
the other
Great.
thing, it's a funny thing. Like, I mean, I had to add this with like, Mangalore is a small town. Things are shut by 10:30, 11.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so I came here and I was uh, somebody. I was supposed to meet somebody, and they were like, "Okay, yeah, just meet us at like 9:30." And I was like, "Wait." It took me a second. I'm not. I kid you not. It took me a second. I'm like, "Wait, we are meeting at 9:30." Okay, that's it. I was like, I
Yeah.
felt old, but at the same time, I was like, "Wait, okay, like that's actually normal here." Because everything's
Yeah.
open till like 1, 2, and I was like, okay, yeah. It took me a while to get used to that.
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand that. I can definitely see that happening. Like 9:30, it's like, but that's only for 1 hour. You just want to meet up for an hour before things close? It's like, no.
No, no. I mean, when I came here, when I came to Bombay, somebody asked me, to meet at nine
No, no,
thirty,
no.
and I was
That's what. So I'm saying, like, you would have been like, they just want to meet for an hour because don't things
yeah,
shut down at
yeah.
10:30? It's like, yeah, like
At 9:30,
no,
I'm usually getting ready for bed. Like, what the
yeah,
hell?
exactly. And, why is there light outside my room at 10:30? Like, what's open right now? No, but it's nice to see you having a lot of fun with the work that you're doing. yeah, I mean, where do I sign up? But no, it's crazy to see, like, you can that you've been able to find something that you enjoy. What I mean, your hobby becomes sort of work. I suppose the only hope is that it doesn't become like work where you're like, oh dude, not this again. Yeah, which it's hard to let that happen, especially if it's got like a good group of people and you're doing different things and all different times. But and I suppose, yeah, it does help that you are surrounded with people, like-minded people who enjoy doing the same thing. Because I can tell you from first-hand experience, if you're doing this by yourself alone, it at times it just becomes like a bit too much. Like, it's nice to have people that you like-minded people who you can bounce off ideas and you can share your thoughts and do all of that. So that does definitely help.
I
All
do
right.
want to, yeah, sorry, sorry for cutting you off. I just want to add, like, because you started off by saying that people who listen maybe can relate and stuff like that. And I wanted to point out, like, this whole thing, my whole journey, it's like, so I did science after 12th. I took a gap year and then did a BSc, a
Yeah.
bachelor of science degree in chemistry, botany, and zoology, which I technically never got,
Okay.
to
Yeah.
going working at a restaurant for about 5 years with my
Yeah.
family. And now I'm an editor for a website where I get to watch movies and TV shows. So, I mean,
Yep.
it's ideal example of, like, you never know where this life is going to take you, and you just got to back yourself.
Oh yeah, exactly. Even I suppose the same about me, right?
Hmm.
Bachelor's in economics, worked for 4 years in a consulting firm, did masters in economics, and now doing a podcast about football. Like, when people ask me, "What's your podcast about?" Is it about economics? It's like, no, football. It's like, oh, different. Like, yeah, different. So yeah, you don't really need to. I mean, if especially right now in this world that
Oh,
offers
yeah.
so many opportunities, you will, I mean, it's not necessary that you need to find the work in the same, just kind of, if you do like what you've studied, fair enough. And if you
Definitely.
found a job that's paying you a lot and you don't mind that, even best. But it's not like the end of the world if you find something that you really like but it's not in the same field and it's giving you the joy that you are looking for. Then yeah, sure, go ahead and do it. As I say, try. I wouldn't say go ahead and do it. Like, give it a shot and see how it works out. And yeah, there are so many doors that are still open. So yeah, I mean, you will find your way somehow. So yeah, I suppose that's a a really motivational way of ending this
Oh,
particular episode. Yeah, I'm glad that we could have this talk and I could get to know a lot more about you, even though I suppose being out of all the people that I've had so far, yeah, you're probably one of the guests that I know a lot more of because we met quite a few times. We chat with each other often. So uh, this was more, I suppose, for those listening in than for me myself because I know tons about what you do. You've told me, I suppose, every step of the way except for like I know. I suppose you were already in the restaurant business. The restaurant business I learned more from Nidal than from you, but the Envoy web and the drawing, we've discussed all of that in great detail on chat. So I kind of know a lot more about you. But to those of you listening to this episode, if you relate to what Nadeem said or our interests or these particular episodes, do let us know in the comments down below. I suppose if you want to get in touch with either of us, you can let us know. You can reach out to me at least on Instagram or on Twitter, and then I will check with Nadeem if he's okay to share. But yeah, do let us know, your thoughts on the episode. If you also have a list of movies that you really, really like, or let us know what shows or movies you're currently watching. You can do that all in the comments section down below. You can also do that on Twitter and Instagram in the comments section. Let us know if you want to be a part of the podcast as well. Unfortunately, we won't directly have you on to this series. We will have you on the football series, and then eventually we will get to talking with you in the near future. But yeah, if you like the stuff that we're doing, please do hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel. follow us on social media. Where I try to keep as active as possible. Now it's the World Cup, so we're recording this at the World Cup. I don't know when this episode is going to go out, but we're recording this during the World Cup, so everything's going pretty quick and fast and quite exciting. So yeah, do follow us on social media as well. Try and get in touch if you want to be a part of the podcast. And thank you, Nadeem, once again for being a part of this episode.
Thank
Yeah,
you for having.
I'm glad we could have you on here for season 1. Like the first season, I thought of all the people that I wanted to interview people who not only been regulars, but people who I chat to regularly. It's like people who are normally on my go-to list if I'm ever looking for doing an episode or if I've got other stuff that I want to talk about. So I'm glad we could have you on here. I'm glad we could do this. And I can't wait to host you now for, I suppose, football season is going to kick off soon. So I can't wait to host you for that soon. So thank you once again.
Yes.
And yeah. And thank you to and thank you to those of you who are listening. And like I mentioned, hit the like button, follow us. This is also going to be an audio podcast, so you can check that out on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, you name it, we're there. Give us a rating if you can. Let us know if you like it. And I'll catch you all on the next episode. So that's about it for episode 7 of season 1 of the Dressing Room series. I'm your host, Praddy, once again. You stay safe and see you.